Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Roland Academy webinar series, Optimizing Your Workflow with Power Tools and SignLab with today's guest, CADLink. And if you missed part one, you can actually access it via the archive on our website, which I will show you how to access later during this broadcast. And our guest presenter for today is Kevin Marshall from CADLink.
Okay, thank you for letting us do these webinars, Roland. We appreciate it. And my name again is Kevin Marshall with CADLink. I've been with CADLink for 17 years, and we're just going to hit on a few features today, converting images to RGB workspace, bitmap editing tools, some rendering pattern fills, instant replay effects, saving gradients, and a few other features within SignLab. So we're going to start off here by importing this image here, fish. And the first thing that comes up here, and it asks you if this document has an embedded profile. And what we're going to do is we're just going to convert this to the working color space that we have selected. And I'm going to show you where, under Options, under SignLab Setup, under Color Management, we have the Roland VersaWorks. And we're going to change this to the US settings. And this will correspond with Roland's color management and their palette, the VersaWorks palette. So when we send files to Roland VersaWorks, everything will be pretty close to matching. So we're just going to say OK here, and we're going to import this image again. Just going to say fish here, and we're just going to convert this. Okay, as you can see, this fish came in here. This is a bitmap, and it says it's a CMYK bitmap, and number 1 here means it's the first object that I brought in. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to convert this to RGB working space so we can edit this fish. And what I'm going to try to accomplish here is I'm going to try to crop out this fish alone and disregard all this other text and all these other objects. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up to Image, I'm going to go to Mode, and I'm going to go to RGB. And this is where we can convert from CMYK to RGB, RGB to CMYK, or monochrome, index color, or grayscale. I'm just going to click on this here. Now if I click, you'll see up here it says in the top left-hand corner that it is a bitmap RGB. So the next thing I'm going to do is double-click on the image, and you're going to see my items at the top of the screen here have all changed. And these are some bitmap editing tools that we have. You see some selection tools here, clips, rectangle, some lassos, some clipping regions, some brushes here for removing parts of bitmaps. And we've got some cropping tools and color regions and stuff here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this magic wand setup. And basically when I click on this setup box, it comes up here with a color match radius. Well, this is working in RGB format, so it's going to be from 0 all the way to 255. And that's the spectrum for the RGB. Unlike if you were going to be using CMYK, it would be 0 to 100 for each color. So this would be, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to select around 200 here. And we're going to look at almost all the colors in this object here when we're selecting. I'm trying to get the blue and the green in here and everything. And I want to click on this fill holes because if I don't, if there's some areas here with some white space around, it will disregard them. So I'm just going to select OK. Make sure I have my magic wand. I'm going to go up to the edge of this fish, and I'm going to left mouse button on it. Now you can see it put a cropping region around this fish right here. So if I go up this tool right here, this is my crop tool. It's going to left mouse button, and it's cropped everything away. I want to show you something right here now. This still has white space around it, so I'm basically going to draw a box, put it behind the object. So there's my box right here. Let's change it to a blue or something. I'm just going to go Arrange, Order, to Back. As you can see, there's my white space. So now, if I double-click back on this bitmap again, it will bring me into these bitmap editing tools. And I'm just going to use, I could go in and use the Fluid Mask tool to remove this background, how I did in the previous webinar that I did the last time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this eye here, click on this eye, and this is to remove white space. And it's a little fast way to remove it and just kind of put it in the background here. and as you can see, it just hit that white space. So if I selected this whole object now, okay, let's just select the rectangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this bitmap to the side. And what I want to do here is I'm going to create a sign. It's called Tropic Isle Aquarium. And basically what I want to do is I want to set this image right here with a pattern fill of maybe some like water effects, some water droplets. So I'm going to get onto this tool in the bottom left, third from the bottom, and I'm going to go into here, select this fourth icon over. It's called Pattern Fills. Basically, we have some pattern fills, and you'll see this box come up here. This is like we call our smart bar, and these are some of the fills that we've created that are already created within Windows. And I've got a few of these created myself in here, but if you click on this box right here, these three buttons, it will actually bring you to the Browse folder where you can see we have some existing palettes all set up. I think there's roughly around 80 or so. If you go in and look at a few, I'll go into like Metal Miracles here, and you can open it back up, and you can see different engine turns and diamond plate and stuff. Well, what we're going to use here, and I'm going to go back again with the three dots, we're going to go under this Wet and Wild Weaves here. Say OK. And basically this box down the bottom left we got here is it's kind of like the size of the fill pattern that we're going to put onto the object that we're selecting. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to select something like this, the little water droplets right there, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to just hit apply here. And you can see it put all these little cells here of water, and if I increase this, you'll see it changes the size of the water droplets. So I'm going to probably just get this, and you can actually, you can angle this, you can skew it, you can use a partial fill if you want. But we're just going to use this fill just the way it is. So now we're just going to hit apply here. We're going to click off cancel, select my fish, and I'm just going to click on this water droplet fill here, and I'm going to hold my shift key down, click right mouse button, and bring in a guideline. So when I bring this object over the fish, you'll see it can snap kind of towards the center here. You'll see the two vertical and horizontal lines lighting up. So I'll put this in here. Now I'm just going to, I've got a short key here to remove all my guides here. And again, if someone wasn't in the last session, if you want to modify any of these icons that are up in the toolbar in the top right, all you got to do is right mouse button, you go into customize, and you can work with, if you want to work with the tools in the system, which is what's up here right now. This one would be tools, this is systems. You would click system, and then you would go into customize. And this is just going to show you all the current toolbar buttons that are up there now, which are the ones on the left. And if I added like this export image and I say add, you'll see it just got added right here. And then you can close this. You can modify it. And you can save all your settings if you want, specific settings for when you're doing transformations or working with objects, fitting text to path, and all your everything that's kind of under the transform menu. You could save just a palette of icons of those up top, and you could call it up if you want. So now my next thing I want to do here is I just want to remove these guides. Like I said, I'm just going to click here. That's going to remove all the guides. I'm going to select both my objects. So I'm just going to go around both the objects here. Now I've got two objects selected here. And again, if someone was in the last session, if I click on this one object here, the rectangle, and I hold my shift button and I clicked on the fish, that would also select two objects. Or again, you could do F3 or Control A, which is under the select all, edit pull down there. Control A or F3. So again, we're just going to select this, two objects, and we're going to go to transform, and we're going to say render pattern fill bitmap. We've got a few different things that we can render here. We can render regular bitmaps. We can, render pattern fill bitmaps. We can, do different things. So if I click on this render pattern fill, I can go in here and name this. And you want to save these as a full color model here. We've got some other objects that some other colors like grayscales and 16 color and 256. We need to use full color here. We're just going to set it at a 75 dpi. So if I go in here and I just type in what I want, and I can just say save. I've already got this saved, so I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull my fish aside here. Click on this and delete this. So I've saved that. And basically now what I want to do first is I want to create a contour cut around this fish, because I'm going to use the contour cut with the pattern fill. So I can bring in my pattern fill, which is going to be composed of the fish and those water droplets. So I'm going to go up here to contour cut, contour cut, and I'm going to uncheck my inside and outside because I just want an outside contour. I don't want to check bitmap frame because that'll just do a white box around there. And I'm going to set my offset 0. That's fine. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to say OK. Now it just gave me my contour. So now I'm just going to slide this off to the side. I'm going to delete my bitmap. Click here and bring this in. So right now I'm working with this at about 23 inches by 22. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to my pen tool on the left. This is the thick line style tool, and this is where some of my gradients are, and if CMYK gradients, and if you've got spot color devices, you can do spot gradients and stuff as well. I'm going to click on this pattern fill, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in and go back to the root directory of fills. I'm going to say OK, and I've got this fill saved right here. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to size this how I want it. I'm going to say apply. Kind of got that. If I made this bigger, you can see it's going to make less fish. The bubbles will be a little bit bigger, but that looks good right about there. So now I'm going to go in there and just click off of that, apply, cancel. Now I've got my object here. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in a line style on the outside of this here. So I'm just going to go over here to my line style. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to select my thick line tool. We've got a no line selected right now. You can do hairlines, you can do thick lines, and this is the value right here, the thickness of the line. You can set the lines in front, you can set the lines behind. We have different line styles as well here, and we have different corners for the line styles. Well, I'm just going to select a bevel. I'm going to do a two-color line style. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select a blue color. And I'm just going to thicken that line a little bit here so we can see it. And that's a little dark, so I'm going to go a little bit lighter with the blue just so we can get a little transition. Now I'm just going to zoom in so you can take a look at what that beveled line style will look like. So there's the beveled line style, which kind of gives it a nice little effect. Again, just going to click off of this. And, you can also save as default line styles if you want to use that default line style and you're comfortable with that, or for some reason if you're working with objects and you need to apply hairlines on objects all the time, you could set that as a default with this little floppy. It looks like a picture of a floppy disk. So now I'm just going to click off of this here. And I'm going to hit F3 to select all. I'm going to hit F7 to zoom to selected. And okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here. We're going to go in and type some text over here. So I'm just going to click on the text tool, click right here, and choose that font. We'll type in tropical. Let's say tropic. Isle aquarium. And as you can see, I've got, right now my text is left justified, so I'm typing left to right. I'm just going to go in here, and again, I'm going to select my object, and it's always nice to be able to have reference points when you're doing artwork. So you'll see me always shift and then right mouse button and bring in a guideline just to see what the center of my object is. So I'm just going to select this text, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit here. So I've got that kind of where I want it right now. So now I'm going to go in here and basically going to click on my text. And I'm just going to put another little line style here on the outside again. If I go back in here, I'll just do just a black line here. That's fine. A little black line. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to grab my zoom tool on the left here, my first one, which is the zoom, just selected here, and that's going to zoom right into that. And sometimes what you can do too is if you have a tool selected, if you hit the space bar, that'll bring you back to the selection tool. Some people say, well, I get stuck on a tool sometimes. You can always hit your space bar to go back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on blue. I can tell if I'm on blue or black here by just click on this blue, or I can go over to my working colors on the right and hold my shift key and click on this blue here. You'll see up top it'll have the blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here with a gradient. Do a gradient fill right here. This is my gradient fills. And we've got a few different styles of gradients here in the software. And we've got your basic linear fill. We've got a radial fill. We've got conical. We've got uniform. We've got square fill. And we've got this little bar right here. And what this represents is one color to the next color. So if I wanted to go in here and just click right in the middle here and add a specific color, I could do that. If I wanted to add another red here, I could. And then I can also move this to where I want it. So maybe I don't want a red there. Maybe I wanted, a different color. You can also move the color on the line over here, which is kind of nice, and get a little better perspective of what you're doing as far as how the gradient's looking. Another nice feature too, you can go up here and you can actually save this fill, which is kind of a nice little feature. So I can just click on this save here, and if I went to the end of my palette, you would actually see that fill is being saved there on my palette, and then I could go in to my palettes here and I could save my palette as a custom name, so I could use that palette. And as I create gradient fills, special effects with the gradients tools and stuff, I could save that palette and call it up and use it all the time and set it as a default palette every time that SignLab opens up. So we've got that done right there. So I just click off of that. So if I had an issue where I had spelled a word wrong, and maybe I spelled aquarium wrong, and I went in here and I had an A here, I forgot. See what happens when I click off? Well, all those effects go back on, the gradients and the outlines. So all I have to do again is click on this and delete it, or I could type in a new word with a new font, slant or whatever, and the effects would go. Let me show you where all this is taking place as well. If I click on this, and I go under View, and I show my instant replay. This is where my effects. So if I click on here and I've clicked on my colors, you'll see there's my special fill, and there's my line style and stuff here I've got going on. So if I actually hit the F6 and I zoomed out a little bit, maybe I want to put down here something like rare tropical fish. And maybe I want this to be all centered. So I'll just put this on here and I'll just slide this over where I want it, scale it where I want it. So now if I went up here and I took this fill right here and this line style and I dragged this right onto my text, voila, very easy. And you can also save some of these effects too. We've got some things in here. You can copy these effects to a clipboard, and you can save them in a storage bin. If I pulled up my storage bin, I could go under here, View, and I could show my storage bin. And if I brought this over here, special fill, my line style, and I copied this, dragged this into here, and then I actually took these two fills here and I just combined them with this little suitcase. I could go in here and the special fill, you could just combine them and name them a specific name, and I could do the same thing. I could drop it over there. You could do this with a, with a shadow. If I went in here too and I selected this and I wanted to go up and transform and put a shadow in here as well. Maybe I want to do a little bit of a shadow on the outside here. Click on this. And you can see this, and I go back in here and click on this. And then there's the shadow. So again, if I wanted to, I could bring up View, show the storage bin, and delete this one right here. I'll take, maybe I just want to do, maybe I don't want that fill, maybe I just wanted the block shadow. I'll drag that over, and I could click on these two here, and then combine them, and call them a name. And save file in here. You could call it, you could name it, maybe this was outline, thick line with shadow. And then these SBN files, storage bin files, you can call them up again. So you would save this, and I'll save this right on my desktop so I know where it is. And then if you wanted to delete this, and then just call this up, you can bring them back in. You can drag and drop them on top of the objects. So that's the beauty. And you can go in here and look at you can go back in and edit text on objects. You can go back in and do a lot of things with Instant Replay where you can edit and you can save these effects. And if you have a job that you've done and Instant Replay was on, you can always pull that job up, and those effects are saved right with the job, which makes it really nice. So now we're just going to delete this here, and just going to go back a step. I'm going to hit Alt Backspace and go back to where I have my job. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select, hit F3, and I don't need my guidelines in here anymore. And I'm going to do an outside contour cut, a little offset, about there, and we're just going to click off of this. So I'm going to show how I can, and one thing too I wanted to point out that I just forgot on. If you go under the pattern fills here, we not only have them as pattern fills, but you can also call them up as a palette as well. So if you wanted to call up one of those pattern fills as a palette, you would get down here, you would go to Load, say New. You can't have any objects on the screen, and if you look under palettes, there's actually a section called pattern fills, and you'll see all the palettes under there, and they would come up on the bottom of the screen here where the working palette is. So now we're gonna set up a job that we're gonna send it to a Roland SP300i printer within SignLab, and then we're gonna actually set up a different cutter and do the contouring on a different device. So we're not going to use the cutting that's on the hybrid Roland printer that we have, but just in case you wanted to cut on another machine, say you had a printer and you had a separate cutter, the workflow is kind of nice within SignLab. So we're going to select, edit select all, and then we're going to say File, Print and Cut, and right now this is how we'd set it up. If we were going to send it to the Roland SP300i, we're going to send the actual print and cut data to the VPM, and I'll show you in here. So now I'm going to open up here, and there's some jobs. It'll take a few minutes here to preview. This is the actual print mode. That's for the media and the inks that you're using. So basically what we're going to do is, this is set up now as the hybrid. We're going to go up and set up a queue where we can actually print and cut to a separate device. So we're just going to go to the queue. We're going to say Manage Queues. And now we're going to click on here to add a queue. Then we're going to say, okay, we're going to select the 300i. Okay, and we're going to You can set this up for a cut-only queue here as well. Continue without setting up a printer for a cut-only queue. Maybe the first thing that I'll go in here, I'm just going to show you two ways to do this. You can send the print and cut job right here if it wasn't laminated, but if it was laminated, I'm going to show the other way to send it first. So if I want to send a job over, print, and then laminate and cut it back in, the first thing I want to do is I want to go up to the registration marks in here. And I'm just going to double-click on this queue right here. This is going to bring me into the queue properties. Now, if I go into the settings right here, print mode overrides, you've got some settings set in here. Cutter, you've got registration marks. So in here, click on registration marks. Right now it's disabled. If I enable this, and this would be the Roland registration mark system, and then I was to send this job, I'll show you what will happen. So I'm just going to delete this first. Now I'm going to go in here and send this job, file, print and cut. So now this job would come in here. Eventually. Okay. All right, let's try this again. Close that. Select this. I think it was because that color box was up there. We say print and cut. Say OK. So that color box is in the background. Okay, that's what I need to do. Then say OK here. That was my fault. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's the job right there. And then you right mouse button, we would hit the print icon, send the print job, and then what it would do is it'll print those rolling registration marks. It doesn't show you right here the registration marks, but when you print it out, then you would send the cut data. It would say waiting for cut data, just send the cut data, and that's how it would come over there. So now we're just going to go through and we're going to set up a separate print queue, and we're going to set up a separate cut queue. Okay, so basically what we're going to do here is with a separate cutter. We go under Queue, Manage Queues, and we're going to select here, and we're going to select the Roland 300i, and we'll pick a print mode. Doesn't matter what we have. I'm going to say Next. And here's where we're going to install a separate cutter. So we'll go in here and we'll pick a different cutter. We'll use a different Roland cutter. And we'll go up here, we'll pick GX500. Yeah, GX500 is fine. It's okay. I'm going to search online for the driver. Next. Say Next. And maybe the port is set up. We're just going to set this up for file because we don't have it hooked up or anything. Maybe it's set up TCP, IP, Ethernet, or USB. And say Next. And we're going to call this SP300i and GX500. And so next. So now, as you can see, we have our two different devices right here, the SP300i and the GX500, and it's pretty much the same thing. You take it off of the printer and you bring it over to the cutter, and the registration marks come over. It's very easy. So now we're going to show sending this to VersaWorks. Again, as you can see down the bottom, we have the VersaWorks palette with our own palette at the beginning here. We have a RGB palette. The one reason we do this is because we do our transparencies. If we wanted to set transparency in the background here on this, we could go in here, we can select transparency here, and we can make this a little bit less noticeable, and you can see, click off of that, you can see the transparency. So the actual advertising of the store sticks out a little more than the background image. So we've got this set up, and I'm just going to select this, F3, and we're going to say File, and we've got our print to roll in VersaWorks right here. Say OK, and we can say Selected Items, and this will designate, when you install SignLab, it automatically finds the default install of VersaWorks, so there's really nothing that you need to do. It'll find it automatically. You just have to set some presets here, which queue you want it to go to, you know, A or B. And if for some reason, if it ever does get lost in the location where VersaWorks is, we do have a browse button up here that you can browse for it. You've got your basic, like under Preferences, Dimensions and Notes, Grid Lines, Guidelines right here. So we'll say OK here. And this should launch VersaWorks. And we should see the jobs start coming in here. It's flattening the transparencies. I should have told you that in SignLab. And again, this was a pretty big size, 23. It had quite a few bitmaps embedded into the background of it. Now it's printing it. You can see it sending it over. And then you should see the job starting to import into VersaWorks. And then you can double-click on it. You can see the dancing ants on the line. You can do everything you need to do in VersaWorks. So that's sending it to VersaWorks in a few different ways with the registration marks, separate cutter, separate printer. So now we're just going to close VersaWorks right here. And I'm just going to delete this file here, and I'm just going to bring up another image. We've got a few more minutes here, and I'm going to hit F7. And I'm going to bring up this one sign here. I'm going to do this sign here for, let's see here. Okay, so we're going to import this. First, we're going to create a sign blank. It's going to be black. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to say sign blank object. And we're going to make this black. Then I'm going to import this JPEG. Here, here. So we're going to bring this image in here. I'm just going to scale this up so it looks pretty good here. Hit F3, F7 again to select all. And again, I'll put my guidelines in. Maybe I want to just bring this in here and snap it to the center. We're going to use the fluid mask, so I'm just going to go in here, select my bitmap. It says it's a bitmap on the top left. I'm going to go to Image. I'm going to go to Fluid Mask. And what we're going to do is, this red tool is for delete, and it's going to go through and find the number of edges on this image again. So if I increase this again, you'll see more edges coming through the, so I'm just going to put this really back where I had it before. It's okay. And again, if I use my bracket keys on my keyboard, I can increase or decrease the size of my selection tool here. So I'm just going to go in and select that red, and I got to get in here, smaller area. So I'm going to hit Z on the keyboard, or I can go over here and hit the zoom tool. I'm just going to zoom into this area. Now, if I pick my selection tool, I just want to zoom it down, or you can grab it up top here and you can slide it down right there if that's any easier. I'm just going to go ahead and select a few areas right here, make it easy. See, if I select right on that line, it's going to get all those areas, so you can do it a little bit quicker. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to hit zoom again. I'm going to hit the alt button and left mouse button. I got some areas over here where I want to zoom into, so I'm just going to zoom right to here. And again, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to make my selection tool smaller. So I'll go in here and maybe select some of that area right there, and there. And do I want that area over there? Let's just see. I'm going to keep all that. So now, oh, I got one more area I forgot here, which is right there. And I'll get down there and select that. I'm just going to zoom back out, hold the alt button, left mouse, oh, made a mistake. I can do edit, undo again. Okay, and I want to hit the Z for zoom, and then alt left mouse button. I'm just going to go in and select my image. I could just select my green here and do small areas, but basically I know I want to fill everything with green here, so I'm just going to go to Image Autofill with Keep, and I can take my camera and I can go over my image too and get a preview and see how it looks. That looks pretty good. So I can hit my escape key to get out of that, and then I can create my mask, and then I can go in here and say, I created my mask by hitting the Create Cutout on the bottom left-hand corner, and you can click on this little arrow here if you want to see the transparency and go up close with the zoom tool. So now I'm just going to say File, Save, and Apply. Now I'm going to go back into SignLab, and you'll see I've got my object here, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit on my sign blank here. Just using my arrow keys. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to type some text here. I'll make this maybe even a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to go in here and select text. And I'm going to make this probably 1 inch is fine. Here's my sign here. I increase this a little bit. I'll make this 15 inches. Zooming out, and again, if I click on this here and I want to scale it right from the center, hold the Shift key, grab the bottom nub, and I can just scale it right from the center there. So I'll pull that up, or I can use my arrow keys again. Shift plus arrow is 5 pixels at a time. Now I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to type in, let me select a different color text, like red. Always click your color on your palette first when you're doing your text color. Type in 1 tequila. Two tequila. Whoops. 3 tequila. 4. Okay, so now I want to have this kind of set up left to right justification. I'm just going to kind of move this right over this object right here. We're going to show some things with transparencies now, which is kind of nice. Now what I'm going to do here is, let me see if this font is the font I want. I'm going to change the font, so I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to go up to this font I like here, this, let's see, Canvas. You can get the fonts too if you want to get the fonts a little quicker. You can type in the first letter, or it will bring it to that letter in the alphabet. So I'm going to go to Canvas, which is right here. I'm going to select it, position it, like that. So now sized it to about 50%. So I'm going to select the Jose Cuervo image, and I'm going to bring this to the front. So I'm going to go to Arrange, Order to Front. So now I've got that to the front. I'm going to select the text, and I'm going to select the text, and I'm going to make a duplicate, but I'm going to keep it in the same location. And how you do that is you go up to Options, to SignLab Setup, to General Preferences. You want to put your duplicates X and Y offset at 0, 0. They come defaulted at 1 inch by 1 inch. So you want to have them at 0, 0. And I do. So I'm just going to click on it. I can go to Edit, Duplicate, or I can just click on the text and do a Control-D. So now I got 2 objects there. If I select everything, you'll see I should have 4 objects up in the top left-hand corner, the black sign blank, the tequila, and the 2 objects of text. So I'm going to select this text, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the text to the front with Control F, so the duplicate is in front of the Jose Cuervo, and with the text up, I'm going to give it an outline. So I'm going to Arrange, Order to Front. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little outline now. I'm going to select white for the outline. So I'm going to go up here to Transform Outline, and I'm going to say No Inline. I'm going to use white. And I'm going to do 2 outlines here, and I'm going to give it probably a value of like 0.05. Okay, and more. Oh. Yeah, I think I made a little mistake here, so I'm just going to delete this text again. And I'm going to do a copy of this text. And I want to bring this one, arrange this one to the front again, Order to Front. Okay, and I'm going to select this. I'm going to Transform Outline. And again, I'm going to do 2 here. I'm going to go to 0.05. This should show up. There we go. And what I did, I had the wrong object selected, just so you know. I'm not going to. Everything's not going to be perfect. Everybody's going to make mistakes. So now I've got this selected, so I'm just going to click off of it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the transparency on the red text at the front. So the red text will go through the transparency tool at the end of the stroke and the fills tool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to zoom into this a little bit. Now I'm going to click, oops, go back to 7. Space bar, click on this, and I go into my transform, and I'm going to transform here, and set my fill here for uniform. And as you can see, it's kind of a nice little effect there. You can see right through the bottle. I'm going to bring this down to probably like 50% here. I'm going to click off of this, and voila, there we go. I'll remove the. You can see you really get that nice effect, and just by moving objects forward and backward, using the proper transparency. So we're just about done here. It's 12:46, so we're going to open this up to some questions. I just want to say that with the software too, if you do decide to upgrade, there's a 90 days of tech support. New packages are 180 days, toll-free tech support. We have a free 1 hour of up and running when you purchase the software. We do have info source on our website, which is really nice, where you can just, if you click on here, if you went to the CADLink website, and I can just do that real quick here. Go to CADLink. And if you go here to info source, you can actually log in and register, and you can find all kinds of tutorials in here that you can download for free. We also offer training DVDs, a built-in tutorial step-by-step, and that's, if you go here to all programs and you pull up the SignLab right here, and you'll see under help, we have these tutorials. This will walk you through 3 or 4 sign jobs to do. It's step by step. I think it's about 70 pages, 64 pages or so. It creates all kinds of signs. It shows you how to use kerning. It's a great way to start off learning just step by step. It's a no-brainer. It shows you what it's supposed to look like with text tools and everything. So it's a great way to learn the product and not have to, kind of fudge through the videos. The videos are good, but I really recommend using the tutorial this way first because it walks you step by step. And I think that's it for me now. And I want to thank everybody for attending, and we'll open this up for any questions and answers. Mike Shimshanko is our Director of Marketing. He's on the line, too. He can help answer some questions as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Kevin. Thank you very much for that well-presented session. I'm going to go ahead, and there's a couple of questions here. There's one question here from Kent. He says, printing bitmaps with Roland Specialty inks regarding UV printer with clear ink. Under Transform, if you render to a multi-tone bitmap and assign the color RDG_gloss, will Roland VersaWorks recognize the color, and will Roland UV printers print it properly? Any actual experience with the results? Would like to see the effect, as metallic printed bitmaps are very impressive.
Yes. What he would actually have to do is make a duplicate of his image, render it to a bitmap fill, and assign the silver or whatever metallic he's using on the front, and if you send that over to VersaWorks, it will pick it up as a specific spot color. We actually have a tutorial that I could send him step by step that he could follow if if he's interested. And I could send any of these people some zip files of some of these tutorials as well.
Okay, great. Maybe we'll do a follow-up email to all of the attendees with some of those tutorials.
Yep.
If there's any other questions out there, we'd love to hear them. If you want to just type them into the chat box on your right, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions at this time. I do have a question regarding last week, or the first session of the SignLab webinar. It should be posted in the archive, and if it's not, I'll go ahead and follow up with the team to see if it has been posted, and I'll make sure that that gets posted as soon as possible this week. And Kent has a little bit of feedback regarding metallic bitmaps with CADLink, and he thinks that they work fantastic. So.
Good. We actually have some nice ways that we can isolate objects in a bitmap too with fluid mask, which is really a strong feature of SignLab as well. Being able to work with bitmaps in vector and isolating certain areas with a fluid mask and assigning a silver spot to maybe some eyelashes or some hair. We do a really good job of that too, and that will walk you through the tutorial on doing some of those features.
Great. He's actually asking specifically about gloss. Perhaps you can address gloss bitmaps for his UV printer, if that's a feature.
Gloss bitmaps?
Perhaps, yeah. So with our UV machines, he's asking.
Right. I haven't used the UV machine, so I'm not real familiar with how our driver is working. I would have to I'd have to probably do a one-on-one with them and work with one of our gentlemen, one of our tech guys up in Canada. But I could arrange to do that with him on the side for sure.
Okay, so Kent, we'll go ahead and grab your email address from the registration, and we'll send that over to Kevin and Mike, and you guys can handle it from there, perhaps.
Is he talking about the LEC machines?
Yes, yeah. That's,
okay.
Or one of our UV machines, at least. I'm not sure which one. I have another question here from Rocky. He says when he has a large file, 70 by 150 or so, and uses the transparency to send to VersaWorks with the background, the transparency will not show. If he downsizes it, then it goes through. Any reasons for this?
Importing the transparency into VersaWorks, I think that is a that has something to do with the VersaWorks rip. I don't think that has anything to do with our exporting or our interface going into Roland. I can get back. He's saying, okay, so he's saying if the file is big?
Yeah, 70 by 150, but when he downsizes it, it does go through properly.
Okay, let me just we'll check here. And 150 by 150, this is a 12 meg file. We'll just assign a transparency to it. Okay, so we got a transparency on this object, so we'll go File, Print to Roll in VersaWorks. We'll say OK here. It's got to go through and flatten the transparency. Here's VersaWorks. That one came in. I'll have to work. I will have to see what size the file. Maybe I can get a specific file from him that's doing that, because this one just came in fine. I don't know. I don't know if there's any. I don't know of any restrictions with SignLab going into VersaWorks. So I mean, it's something. Maybe he has an older version of VersaWorks that maybe he has to update or something. I'm not sure. I'd have to do a one-to-one with him.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just take that offline. And I got his information here, and so I'll send that off to you, Kevin, so you can take that up with him. All right, we have a couple more minutes here to wrap up our webinar. If you guys have any last-minute questions for the guys at CADLink, we'd be happy to answer them. I have one question here from Scott. He says, how can I get print to VersaWorks on my SignLab program?
That's something that you would purchase. It's $150. And you would have to have version 9.1 or 8.0, because we started offering it with 8.0. So it's actually 9.1 works very well because we've got all the transparencies in 9.1. And a lot of times, too, if he does upgrade from 8 to 9, we have some promotions where we do give free modules. Like he's got a choice if he wants Fluid Mask or maybe the VersaWorks add-on for free. So we do run promotions quarterly.
Great. And he could just access that stuff from his the website, or purchase from the website, or from a dealer?
I could call up a dealer. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I have one more question here from Rocky again. If an image is 50 by 50 and I downsize to 1 by 1 and send to VersaWorks, what size do I need to increase?
If the image is 50 by 50, now is this bitmap or vector?
Not quite sure. I think he might be letting us know. He says to get to original size, vector or bitmap.
Okay, well, I would, since we have resampling software in our software with supersized image, I would recommend sending the file at the proper DPI and size that he wants to output. I mean, it all depends on where they're going to be looking at the file. I mean, I don't recommend downsizing it and then sending it and then resizing it up in VersaWorks. Mm-hmm. You could. I mean, it's basically if this image right here I have is at 180 DPI, and it's at 10 by 13. If I downsize this, you're going to see the DPI is still going to come up. It's going to be larger. because I've downsized it. I've put those dots in a lot closer areas. So I don't think it's going to really matter either way, but I just would send the image over at the exact size and the resolution that you have in your graphics application, SignLab. I never have, resize things and then resample them up,
Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. If you go here to rolandga.com/webinars, that's plural, you'll find our entire schedule for the webinar series, and then you'll also find the webinar archive as well. And you will be prompted to enter your model and your serial number. And like I said, we have all of our webinars that we've done here, and I believe that's over 80 hours of training on various subjects, including VersaWorks and color management, which are really popular. I will check to make sure that we do have the SignLab Part 1 posted as soon as possible, if it is not up there already, and so that everybody can see both Part 1 and Part 2, hopefully this week at your leisure. And of course, let's see, we also have, just to let you guys know, our Roland DGA store is a great resource for you all to purchase any media. We have a promotion going on for free shipping on our newest banner material, which is actually polyester banner. And so I would recommend that you head over there if you are looking for any types of new media or applications to participate in. And then also, there is going to be a brief survey after today's webinar, and we're always looking for new topics, so please feel free to give us your comments and let us know what you'd like to see in the future, and we will definitely take that into consideration. And then also, one last thing about our support system as well, we have lots of videos available on our support site, and a lot of instructional videos for a lot of our machines and VersaWorks. So please feel free to go into there and search around to see any of our support videos. And that concludes our webinar. Mike and Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today and being part of our partner webinar series. We very much appreciate it, and I think it was a great session, and we look forward to seeing you all in the next Roland Academy session. Thank you.
Thank you.